Greetings, this is The Last Video Store. My name is Alexi Toliopoulos, and before we get into this episode, I just want to do a quick little intro to say a couple of things. Firstly, thank you for watching, thank you for listening to this show this year. This is our last episode for 2024, the first year of The Last Video Store. We'll be back pretty soon in the new year with some great episodes, and heck, I might even sneak out, squirt out, squeeze out a couple of little bonus episodes over that holiday period for you, but we've already recorded some great episodes that'll be coming in the new year. Some really interesting, fun, heroic people. I'll say it. Shall I give a tease? Okay, I'll give a tease. David Farrier, one of my documentary heroes. We've got an episode in the can that'll be coming out early next year. But right now, this is Luka Muller, one of my dearest mates. I just wanted to say, we recorded this episode freaking ages ago, and Luka then told me they had a special coming out in December, so we thought we'd hold off, release this to give him a little nudge to all our watchers and listeners to check out Luka's special, which is called Top 5 Smells I Smelled Before. It'll be on the Comedy Republic YouTube channel on December 22nd. You can click on through into the show notes right now and subscribe to the YouTube and get ready to watch it December 22nd. Heck, that's the day after Gravy Day. Why don't you watch it after you've had all your gravy and gotten gravy ready for Christmas time? But that's it. Check out Luka Muller's show. He's got a great podcast called Who's Spooky. We're going to chat to him right now because he stuck around to record the intro with me. So we're going to go right to my chat with Luka. But thank you again to all the people, the members, the guests, the visitors of our first year of The Last Video Store. And of course, thank you to producer Em as well, who's in the room silently off mic. But thank you for being such a great producer and fellow clerk behind the counter with me here. But thanks so much, gang. This is like my dream come true doing this podcast. It's like exactly how I want to talk about film, the distilled essence of Alexi Toliopoulos cinephilia. So share it amongst your friends. That can be your Christmas present to me. Share it amongst all your film-loving friends and tell them we had freaking Hugo Weaving on an episode. That's awesome. Agent Smith himself, dude. Hello and welcome to The Last Video Store, the show where I, Alexi Toliopoulos, the Prince of Motion Pictures, will talk to an interesting person about their favorite movies. The guest on the show this week, if you're watching the YouTube version, you're seeing him sit behind me right now. It is a Luka Muller, very funny comedian, host of one of my favorite podcasts, Ooh Spooky. Not my most favorite, but in the top 3. So it actually is quite high up. Very, very good stuff.
Why even bring that up? Just leave it at one of my favorite.
I don't know
I would have been so happy with that.
Well, you know, it is one of my favorites.
What's number 1?
Number 1, probably Finding Drago, I guess. Finding Drago, Finding Desperado, Total Reboot. The Last Video Store is up there as well. I'll probably say that's my top 5. So yours is my least ego-driven of my top 5. Also, host of the breakfast program on Triple J. So you can wake up with Luka, and especially if you're waking up really early at 6 a.m. or something. But Luka is a great guest. So we have already recorded the episode, and he has stuck around for the intro. But what we do on the show, we're going to talk about some of his favorite movies in the style of an old school video store rental combo of a new release and 2 weeklies. And if you want a bespoke, customized recommendation based on your taste, dear listener and viewer, I will do the same for you as I shall do for Luka if you give us a review on Apple, iTunes, Spotify, a YouTube comment, a comment on a Facebook post, not Facebook post, Instagram. I've not used Facebook that much anymore. Maybe I'll do a post on Facebook too and tell us what your combo would be. Luka, could you please do me the honor of reading this one sent in from a dear listener?
Absolutely. This comes courtesy of Regular Man 987.
I think I know this person.
A good podcast. 5 stars.
Wow.
Always insightful and funny, approaching film discussion with a true love for it. The new format is so fresh, and Alexi seems to have instant chemistry with everyone he has on.
Would you agree to that?
100%.
Wow, okay, thank goodness.
My combo would be new release, Love Lies Bleeding.
That's probably one of my favorite movies of the year so far. Great neo-noir film.
Weeklies, Roadhouse.
All-time favorite.
And Dazed and Confused.
Oh my God, this person, for a regular guy, dare I say, you got the taste of a king.
Regular man, spectacular taste.
I'm going to say, jumping off Love Lies Bleeding, I love neo-noir, so I'm going to recommend you a homegrown Australian neo-noir, The Square from Nash Edgerton, starring Joel Edgerton. It's kind of like a really dirty, grubby Australian take on Double Indemnity or something. Great film. It's called The Square. Anyway, let us get into our chat with the one, the only, the wickedly talented Luka Muller.
The last video store.
Okay, Luka Muller, welcome into the last video store.
Dude, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor, truly.
Wow, okay, the honor is bestowed upon me now. I
Wow.
feel grateful for the honor you're sharing with me, so thank you.
It's mutual honor to open up the pod here.
That is it, two respectable fellas being respectful to each other.
One for me, one for you.
Oh, wow, the circle continues. I want to ask you, mate, because you grew up in a lovely little town called Echuca.
Certainly.
Was there a video store in that town?
There was a video store. There was one called Video Land, which I think was chain, but not a very popular. Maybe it was Victoria only or something.
Yeah.
There's a big one of those.
A lovely generic name as well. Yeah,
Yes.
video something. Let's just call it. We'll figure out whatever word we can chuck on it.
Video House, Videoville, what's it going to be? Yeah, there was one of those, and I remember it having prime real estate on the main street of Echuca, right in the street. You're going up the street, you're going past the video store, and I have very fond memories of like sort of browsing the aisles there and stuff. And then as the industry declined, I remember it first of all becoming a Video Easy, but staying in its same location, and then shutting down for a while, and there was a different independent one, and then the Video Easy moved again to a real small place. It was a tragic sort of decline to watch through the years.
This is a beautiful tale of probably so much intrigue. All these deals, changing hands, changing business names. My God, now this is what the industry's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. Some like franchise owner desperately pleading with the real estate agent. Just another one. I remember the last thing it moved into, I think it was a Gloria Jeans before it was that. So there was sort of this weird long counter. Did not suit being a video store at all.
Pop your beans through that return chute there. Whatever's left of your coffee, chuck it through, mate. Chuck it through. Do you have any fond memories of going there?
Dude, I remember being maybe like, I must have been 15 because I went there to hire an MA 15 plus
Oh,
movie.
wow. A rite of passage for many a young person.
Yes, but my parents were out of town for the weekend, and I wanted to go get a video, but I'd left it too late. I must have been delayed myself or trying to cook a pizza out of a cardboard box or something like that. I left it a bit too late, and so I thought, you know what? I'm going to use my home phone to call the taxi cab company. I'm going to order a taxi cab to drive me to the video store so that I can get there quicker. And I do that, and the guy comes and picks me up, and then we get there. I go, can you just wait here for like 5 minutes? And I'll go inside and hire a DVD, and then I'll come back. He goes, okay, sure. And I go in there, and I hired Knocked Up, and then I came out, and he goes, what did you get? I go, Knocked Up. He goes, yeah, nice. He was very pleased with it. He goes, I watched it a few weeks ago. It's awesome. You're going to love it. And then I went back home and watched it.
Wow. I thought you were going to be like, they don't believe I'm 15. Can you come in and be my guardian, please? Please tell them that you're my freaking uncle or something, or my dad, whatever it is.
Was that what your teen years were like, where other teens were hanging out the front of a bottle shop begging an adult to buy them a beer? You were like begging someone to hire you secondary makeup porno.
I'm desperate to see Scarface, mate. Please, can you get it out for me, please? I'm desperate to see friggin' Harvey Keitel's naked ass and Bad Lieutenant. Can you please come get me some DVDs, mate? Just 5 R18s, that's all I want. But yeah, not unlike that. But then I got a job in the video store, you know, and I could I'm doing the opposite. When an older woman, perhaps colloquially known as a MILF, would come in.
Maybe, could be.
Whenever she'd be trying to get R18s, I go, love, I'm going to see some ID over here. There's no way that you're of age to rent these.
What a
And
charmer.
they would blush, they'd tap me, they'd do all these things. And, you know, that's how I got my skills in life. Where I learned my charms from was behind that counter.
That's where I wrote the game from.
All right, Luka, we're going to get into your rental combo, my dear friends.
Please.
1 year release film, 2 weeklies, and then the honor shall once again return to me. And I will bestow upon you a customized, bespoke, a recommendation based on more so who I know you to be, perhaps today.
the specific recommendations.
Yeah, we'll see how we go. We'll see how we go.
I can't wait, man.
Well, let's do it.
New release.
Let's talk about your new release title. And I'm going to say this I think is one of the best films of the last couple of years.
Nice,
This is a lovely film called The Taste of Things, an example of cuisine on screen.
Art house.
When did you see this movie?
I saw this movie maybe 2 months ago, something like that. I think after seeing you post about it, I believe.
Oh, I'm an influencer.
Is that something
after
you would
all.
do? Would you post about a flick?
Yes. I'm a micro-influencer in my field. Yes.
And I think you and I have a sort of similar obsession with food and the culinary arts.
The culinaries, yes, indeed. Yeah, I presented this movie with Mitch Orr, the fabulous chef and customer here at the video store as well.
Yes.
And he hadn't seen the movie when we presented it. So like, I go, this is the way that I'm going to get you guaranteed you'll see this movie if I make you work with me presenting it. And then as soon as it ended, he came up to me. He's like, bro, that's one of the best movies I've ever seen in my life.
I'm so glad.
He wants to move to Paris to learn French cuisine.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Changing the direction of his life.
I think I might have altered his existence.
He wants to go back to 1800 style technique and everything.
Yeah, exactly. But for those that haven't seen it, tell us about it. It's set in France in the late 1800s.
Yeah, 1880s, 90s, something like that. And it's sort of explores the relationship between a famous chef. I'm sure I'm getting the words wrong here because I know this is quite a specific thing about like sort of the history of food and the different roles that they play. But you know what I mean. There's a chef, a famous guy, a guy who's a bit of a food celeb at the time. You know, he's contributing quote unquote important recipes and people come and visit him to taste his foods and stuff like that. But
It's
it's
in this kind of like regional part of the world. Yeah.
Yeah, and explores sort of the relationship between him and this woman who's like his assistant, I guess, would you say, co-chef,
Yeah,
sort of.
Sue or like, something. I don't know the terminology actually.
Yeah, and I wondered if part of this movie was about the dynamic between them, where he's the man and sort of gets all the credit and is the public-facing celebrity part of it, where on film at least she's doing so much of the work, she's doing the labour of the chopping and most of the actual cooking and stuff like that. But right after I saw it, I actually caught up with a friend of mine who's a chef, sort of in like fine dining in Melbourne and stuff, and I asked her, I was like, how did you feel about that? Was that a comment on that dynamic? And she was like, oh no, not at all. That's like a very common sort of thing, and she's fine with it. It's not really an issue in the film. So that changed my interpretation of it. But it's about that.
Yes.
But mostly just it's about looking at fucking people cutting up food and getting real hungry and enjoying this beautiful, slow, long process of the cooking and the picking. That opening, it must be 40 minutes or something, where it just takes you from her early morning, the sun's rising, she's in this beautiful French field, picking fresh vegetables and then washing them and chopping them and lovingly preparing them before turning them into this like unbelievably beautiful meal. I could watch that shit all day.
And it's done without music. It's like so slow and luxurious. And it's just like the process of cooking.
Yes.
And I think that's kind of like what I'm drawn to when it comes to like cuisine on screen, as I love to dub it.
Yes.
And that it's all about the process. Like, and I think the way that I put it, I've written this down. This was part of my introduction. I think food, both the eating and especially the preparation of food, translates beautifully to cinema because it utilizes the senses in a way only film can. It's the process. You see it captured in its most idealized form. You hear it sizzling, crackling, crunching, or bubbling away. And then through the power of cinema, that transportive empathy machine, as Roger Ebert loves to call it, it unlocks your memories of the great meals you've had and shared with ones you love. The significant moments, sound and vision are taken over by the memories of other senses. It allows you to fill in the senses of smell that are missing and experience and imagination. And in that opening sequence, like you're seeing all these dishes kind of come together. You're seeing these speciality items and tools.
Yes.
Like there's this giant like copper. Everything's copper.
Yeah.
Everything's copper. It's so stunning.
That's another beautiful element of it. Not only is it this wonderful cooking scenes, but using all the old technology and everything's unreal.
Gosh. Like you see this giant copper like rhombus shaped thing. You go,
Yes, I know the rhombus.
What could this possibly be? And then they load in a giant flat monkfish that fits perfectly in this copper utensil and they put the lid on it and you go, wow.
Yeah.
It's almost like a setup payoff. You go, sure, what could this be?
Yeah.
And you feel that. It's the best one.
It's
And when we-
Chekhov's rhombus. What's that rhombus got to do? I know that thing's coming into place.
Surely it's
somewhere.
coming to. We're going to find out what the rhombus does,
They
how
should
it's utilized.
open the rhombus Pulp Fiction style. What's in there?
And instead of like the golden glow, it's like the horrible steam of a monkfish coming to life. The ugliest fish in the ocean. But the other one that really like in the cinema, you could feel the atmosphere change. You could hear like
I know what you're gonna
you could
say.
hear tummies grumble as it happened. You see this thing that's like a bowl full of ice,
Oh my
and then
God.
they're
Oh
like
my
they've
God.
got this cranking device,
Yeah.
their cranking thing. Then it opens up, and you realize, oh my God, I'm seeing 1889's answer to ice cream.
Yeah.
And you feel something, and then that gets turned into a baked Alaska, and they tell
it's
you about how
unreal.
the baked Alaska was invented and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
But
It's
just
unbelievable.
captivating.
That ice cream maker, and there is, maybe to the listener it seems obvious what's happening, but there's this real intrigue because they get these close-up shots of the grinding and they're like adjusting parts of the machine. You're like, what is this? What's happening? And then it's just this gorgeous-looking sorbet thing.
Oh my God.
It made me. You gave me the tip, and it was a wonderful tip. I will say. You said book a ticket and then book a nice restaurant for afterwards.
Yes,
Go
you
and
have
eat. Go and eat something. Is that
You
what you
have
did
to.
with Mitch?
I think we ate beforehand.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
did eat beforehand. She is good and bad, but he prepared the food, so it was at least, it was good. It was
that's
good.
great. I did that and it was awesome. Had a lovely dinner, but more so than it making me want to eat, it made me want to cook. I wanted to go home and cook up a big old meal after that.
Yeah.
It was so nice.
You're looking monkfish near me and rhombus utensils near me.
Yeah.
I'll give you a little bit of background information about the film as well. The filmmaker Tran Anh Hung, and I think this is like the special thing about this film. He himself is not a cook.
Yes.
Like he loves food, but is not a cook. In the kitchen, he diligently helps with his wife's preparation. He cuts and cleans alongside her as he cooks. And I think that's kind of the magic of this, because you see that in the film. The camera's always watching on, allowing you, the audience, to be the observer, capturing a balance of feeling very precise yet free in this like very harmonious and sensual way. And on the other side of that harmonious and sensual way, the stars of this movie, Benoit Magimel and Juliette Binoche,
Oh, Binoche.
the two leads,
Wow.
they were married in real life.
Really?
Many years ago, and they have an adult child together, or a teenage child. And this was the first time they'd worked together since like their
Really?
breaking up. So you see that
I
tenderness.
gotta watch it again.
Yeah, I didn't say that in my intro because I was like, I
Yeah.
can't alter the minds
Yeah.
of people in here because that's all they'll be able to think about. But yeah, isn't that wild?
Wow, because we say that it is mostly about the food and stuff, but the little thread of story and their relationship that's in there is also intriguing and beautiful. Like they're these lifelong sort of colleagues, I guess, and partners in the kitchen, and then
They're lovers.
yeah, they're lovers as well, but in a sort of a distant way, but in a way that's clearly fulfilling to both of them. It's
Yeah.
very beautiful. Yeah,
I find that relationship so moving. Like,
Yes.
There's something about it. It's a relationship like I've never seen before in a film.
that's exactly what I said to my chef friend afterwards. It's like, I don't understand that relationship, but when do you ever see something like that on screen? It's so nice to see that explored.
And chefs like, that's every day for us, man. That's every day. We've got the perfect world going on.
It's me and everyone in the polycule, brother. The whole kitchen's in on it.
But that is the taste of things. I think it's just like absolutely one of the most unctuous, luxurious, beautiful movies, and truly must-see cinema.
And one of the great, to me, monologues that I can remember in recent time is where he sort of has all these luminaries, these fellow culinary, high up people in the culinary world over for dinner, and she cooks for them. And then afterwards they come to the kitchen and they're like, why don't you ever come and eat with us? And she gives this beautiful answer about how it's more important to her that she's here. She's been with you for the meal by being there all day, by preparing the food and massaging it and loving
my
it and
God.
feeding it to them. That answer is gorgeous.
And that's how we feel about to you and all the listeners. Yeah, you're hearing us, but we're in your body right now. We are with you soulfully. And the other moment that I just love, because I'd never seen it put on screen before, but of course it has a wonderful scene where the famous little bird that they...
Yes.
What's that?
The ortolan.
Ortolan.
Yes.
The famous little bird that is well known in the culinary world because it was a tiny sparrow-like creature that is fed brandy until
Yes.
it drowns a horrifying
It's
death,
awful.
but then is poached and cooked beautifully, and you're to eat it whole, bones and all, you spit them out at the end, but you're meant to cover your shame in your head as you eat this bird. And the moment where they do that, and they all just like these beautiful, like 6 rotund Frenchmen. Just
Yes.
like they're in a moment of ecstasy. They're all leaning back and they all go, should we do one more? They just put the shrouds back on their head and have another ortolan. Just the best shit ever.
It's so good. Dude, I could talk about this movie all day. But also, I love that little girl. They like bring in this little girl who has a perfectly like functioning palate to
Yes.
train her as sort of the next cooking
We've got a
assistant
future
woman.
gourmand on our
And
hands.
she's hilarious. Their relationship with her is great. It's awesome, man.
But it's truly a life-enriching film.
Yes.
I highly recommend it to all of the listeners, viewers, and the future gourmands out there.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to get into your weekly choices now.
Weekly.
Oh, I'm going to say dealer's choice. Where do you want to begin? You've got 2 lovely feature films here.
Let's go with. I rewatched a bunch of flicks in the lead up to doing this to try to narrow down what I was going to pick. So.
My gosh, I've never seen someone so diligent before.
Well, I wanted to come in here. I didn't want to be a goose and act a fool and not know my stuff in front of you.
Yes,
What if
gooses will be thrown out, or they'll be force-fed brandy until I can gobble the whole goose up ortolan style.
Imagine you'd throw me the ortolan thing and I'd be like, oh yeah, seagull. I would have come across as a damn idiot.
They're eating that albatross in there or something.
Wedge-tail eagle, I know the one. Let's go for the movie I watched most recently in my rewatching run then, which is Superbad.
Comedy.
Oh, okay. Superbad, one of the great comedies of all time. I think truly definitive teen cinema classic. Super funny, super cool, super bad. Greg Mottola, congratulations. Tell me about Superbad, because it would have come out when you were in high school, right?
Yes.
This is me doing research. Yeah, so you would have seen this movie in high school, am I correct?
So you were like, not primary school, not uni, somewhere in between, would you say?
Yeah, I'm looking at that, kind of, judging you up, man. Just been reading about you. Yeah, it says you all used to be young, right?
What's the release on this? 2006?
2007, yeah.
7,
2007.
yes. So I was 13, turning 14 years of
Wow.
age.
Prime age.
I reckon watched it at like a friend's birthday party because it would have been an MA. We wouldn't have been allowed to rent it just yet, but, snuck it in at a cool friend's birthday party and just was obsessed with it. Thought it's aspirational in a way. You want to be those guys, even though they're, losers in the film. You want to have that friendship and that relationship and go to those parties and live in the States. That's like, with you saying, that's so appealing to an Aussie teen. Like, what if that was my life?
What? How could I dream it? But I mean, it pretty much is. We have lots of underage drinking
Yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff like that. Little do you know, a year later, your life probably would be pretty identical to the
Yes.
character antics of Superbad.
But yeah, just loved it immediately. I was already a big Apatow head. I reckon by this time I might have seen Knocked Up already or 40-Year-Old
Wow.
Virgin.
You'd already gone to that fateful taxi trip
I might
to
have.
see
It might have
Knocked
been
Up.
after that, yeah.
But I think with Superbad as well, like for me, what it is, like it perfectly captures that age and it captures a really, like, I think quite real social dynamic
Yes.
of young men.
Yes.
Where you can tell they are so codependent, they so need each other,
Yes.
they deeply love each other, but they can only express themselves by being really nasty.
100%. I had a friend, my best friend all through high school. We had a very similar dynamic. I was the Sierra type, if I do say so myself.
Wow. And could you guess what I could have been as a fat, chubby, curly-haired boy that was really rude and funny? Yes, I was a Jonah. I was a Jonah.
Yeah, I had exactly that. I was the shy, more reserved one. He was the, brash, confident, but also a loser one. I just wanted it so bad.
Did you have a Fogel, a McLovin in your world?
Yeah, we kind of did have a Fogel. There was a third loser who was our friend, but also on the outs as well.
I remember my Fogel, who's still actually one of my very best friends.
Yeah.
Congratulations, David. You just had a beautiful child as well now.
Fogel had a baby.
Fogel had a baby. It
Damn.
happened for Fogel.
McLovin finally got his tip wet. That's awesome. I'm really happy
And
for the
it's
guy.
the cutest kid this side of the Mississippi, if I dare not say. But he was our friend, and he has a. To this day, his voice is one of the voices in my repertoire that I used for humor.
Yeah.
Because he had a very particular way of speaking.
What did he
where
sound
he
like?
would
What'd
be
you
like, he'd call you, and he'd be like, you see his name come up, and you go, hello, Alexi. I go, hey, David. It's David. And he still talks like that, but he's
That's
one
really
of my
sick.
most beautiful friends.
He's remained true to himself.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I loved him, man. Like I said, big Apatow head. It was tough to choose between sort of a handful of Apatows for this, but I went with Superbad.
What are your Apatow rankings?
Oh God, what's in the pool to choose from?
Drill
How
Bit
far
Taylor.
out does it
yeah. I'm trying to think of the other Crapatow movies. Yeah, I'm a big This Is 40 guy as well. I love This Is 40.
I loved This Is 40. I like Funny People as well. I
Me
think Funny
too.
People was actually great.
Of course, it speaks to a different type of your life.
Yes,
I'm looking at
absolutely.
this. It says you've done stand-up comedy a few times as well.
I've tried my hand, yes. The rumors are true. But once I sort of started to really love that, I would first of all rent, but then eventually come to own all the DVDs of all those.
Wow.
And like most
The
weekends
Apatow collection.
most weekends, yeah, I had the big box. But what would they come in? You know, the Seinfeld comes in the fridge. What would the Apatow collection come in?
I'm trying to imagine. It could probably come in. I'm imagining it's just like a giant briefcase-sized McLovin ID card.
I was gonna say, I reckon.
Flat pack.
I feel like there was a promo DVD of this that came with like a McLovin ID.
Oh yeah,
piece.
I still got it in my Velcro wallet, brother. Let me whip it out.
But I'd buy them all, and most weekends from age probably 14 through 18 or something, just like sit in our family computer room, watch it, and then sort of fuck around, play video games, listen to music for a bit, and then watch the movie again, but with the commentary. I've seen all those movies
Yeah.
with the comms like 5, 7, 10, 20 times each. Who knows? I couldn't tell you.
And it's to me one of the great like descents into nocturnal
Yes.
films as well. I
Oh.
think that's one of the things when I go back to it. I think what it captures so well is like the atmosphere. Like it captures perfect atmosphere of what it feels like, kind of like the last days of school.
Yes.
Where kind of nothing really matters, but the stakes are still really high because when you're a teenager, the stakes always feel high.
Absolutely.
Because it's life, death, and sex, and that's all that really matters.
Yes.
Like that's everything. And then the way it goes from that transitions into like this, into a nocturnal feeling, not unlike Dazed and Confused, like set over one day, but the way that Superbad does it, where it goes nocturnal and it gets heightened and it
Yes.
becomes a little bit more surrealistic, like weird things start happening.
Yes.
And it reminds you so much of like the kind of whacked out adventures that you would have as a teen, like running around.
And the things you were so worried and paranoid about, am I going to end up at a party with these older freaks and not fit
Yeah.
in and they'll make fun of me and all this stuff? And will I be around drugs? Drugs are scary. It captures that
Yes.
so well. And the way it sort of grows into that was interesting to me on the rewatch as well. So in the first act, it sort of has all these little stylistic touches. There's little flashbacks with the dick drawing thing.
Yes.
And there's that like sort of fantasy imaginary sequence of Jonah Hill.
Yes.
Sorry.
Enjoy your many years.
Yes. And of McLovin thinking about stealing the stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
then those sort of fade away as it becomes more like locked into the night and
Yeah.
just them moving from place to place. It's really cool.
It has surreal moments and then it becomes genuinely the surrealness of a nightmare,
Yes,
which I
yes.
think is so fun. And to me, the funniest moments whenever I rewatch it recently is the first time you see Fogel walking out wearing the vest,
Oh.
and it's in slow
Oh.
motion, and he is walking as with a strut as if he's cool. So funny. And then what has me howling the last time I watched this film is Michael Cera at the party where they go, "You look like this guy,
Yes.
with a beautiful voice." And they make him sing. Is so funny to me.
It's Sarah at the peak of his powers as well. He's crushing it in that.
And I think where this film lands, and it's like the reason I think Apatow style comedy really sinks its teeth into this generation is it's this kind of comedy hybrid that's like a balance between gross out and sentimental humor.
Yes.
And it's like you kind of have like the 70s and 80s gross outs of like your like Animal House and all those kind of things, like these gross out comedies. And then I'd say American Pie is kind of the first thing in that real gross out sentimental where it's like, yeah, there's lots of gross things that happen, but it's about the heart. It's all about these characters and the way they align together. And then I think Superbad is the one that perfects it in the kind of Apatow sense. Like Apatow's always playing that gross out sentimental space.
Yes.
But then Superbad like truly nails it on an unprecedented scale.
Yeah, absolutely. So true. And I don't know, I see this in you. I'm sure you probably do as well. I feel like it's so clearly affected my sensibility of how I like to do comedy and make stuff now as well, with like silliness, funniness, lightness, but also heart and seriousness and stuff. And we'll talk about it with our next flick. But yeah, I guess that is a huge thing for me, like the highbrow, lowbrow type thing. A little bit of both is the sweetest.
I agree. The sweetest nectar of all is a cocktail of disgusting and the beauty of the world, an emotional connection.
Yeah, they always felt so cool to me as well. Like, I don't know, the funk music in this one and stuff. All the music was always great to me, and the Apatows informed a lot of my, I liked just the whole world of it, dude.
When you were a teenager watching these films, and I'm assuming, I'm looking here, it says you had an interest in comedy at the time as well.
Yes.
Were you making stuff like this with your buddies, or like trying to were you creatively working together?
Here and there, maybe a few little home video type things, couple things.
Jackass videos.
Some Jackass videos,
Yeah, we
definitely.
light one guy on fire and kicked him in the nuts.
But not a ton really, but we were so aware of like their influence on us and stuff like that. And definitely like, I feel like learning about the people in that whole crew, and that Seth Rogen like used to be a stand-up when he was younger and stuff, that was just like, I think that informed a lot of why I even wanted to get into comedy. I was like, isn't that just the dream? You hang out with your buds and you make funny silly stuff and you do stand-up and you do this. So I was like, I mean, it's here I am 16 years later or some shit.
And hopefully we're friends. Okay, that is Superbad, one of the all-time greats of comedy classics. And now we're going from gross out sentimental humor to, what is this undetected satire in the era that it came out? This is from the twisted mind of the Mad Dutchman himself. The horror from Holland. Paul Verhoeven.
Nasty Netherlander.
Paul Verhoeven.
The asshole from Amsterdam. Sorry to keep talking over you.
No, you got to get one more. I'm going to start saying one.
I don't know any other
You gotta think
places.
about,
the rotten one from Rotterdam.
Okay, there we go.
How many others do you know?
Is Helsinki there?
No, I think that's Sweden. I'm so sorry.
I don't know. It is Starship Troopers.
Yes.
Sci-fi.
We've never spoken about this movie. Were you surprised I chose it? Do you like it? Where do you sit on this movie?
Where do I sit on this movie? And yes, let it be revealed, we've never discussed this film.
We've never spoken about this before. This
Yeah.
is fresh. This is live.
Yeah, you're
It's
seeing
not scripted.
something new happen right now. This is everything else we'd scripted. We have talked about those before. They are planned. This is live and dangerous right now. This conversation, we could misinterpret the fascistic, satirical undertones and think that everything the Americans do in this is awesome, and I agree with it. This is Starship Troopers. This is my first time discussing Starship Troopers ever, really.
Wow.
I'm a big Paul Verhoeven guy.
Yes.
I think I would have seen this movie when I was a youngling, a teenager, and I knew it was satirical. I was like, I understand that what this is doing.
You knew. You were
I
a
was
politically aware teen.
I was hip to it.
Did you have a poster of Bushisms or something like that?
Oh, I had a Che Guevara t-shirt on watching this movie.
That's so cool.
Yeah, but it's in the years since first seeing it, like Paul Verhoeven has probably become one of my favorite filmmakers. I'm a big lover of grub auteurs, and I think he's one of the grubbiest.
Yes.
And the only note that I wrote down, like when I watched this movie last time, was I reckon between the ages of 12 to 15, I stared at pictures of Denise Richards for at least a total of 28 hours. But I think Starship Troopers, it is so fun.
Yes.
And to me, what it feels like, and this is what it felt like when I first saw it as well, I love ambitious science fiction oddities and like the really read swings, strikeouts, misses, home runs, any kind of baseball terminology that applies to this.
Get the slugger, in the glove, left field. Movies that come out of left
It
field.
is quite out of left field, actually. But like, I love that Lost in Space movie
Yes.
when it came out. I was going to say Matt LeBlanc, but I believe it probably is in character as Joey Tribbiani. It's like in universe as a Joey Tribbiani star vehicle. But that's a weird one. And this always felt like when I saw this, I go, oh, this is what the grown-up version of this movie is. With all this crazy, weird stuff in it. And I think it's just like such a blast, this film.
It's such a blast and ambitious. It's good. It's correct of you to say that word. Jesus, it's like 4 movies at once. It's crazy. It's amazing. Yeah, I'd never seen it until probably only a year ago or something. We watched it for our pod. Ooh, spooky. It's wonderful. Thank you.
Great podcast.
Thank you so much.
I'm a listener. Every single week I listen to Ooh Spooky.
Oh, come on, dude. You're making
Yes.
me blush.
Ooh Spooky sent me here. I've commented on a few YouTube videos.
Yeah, we send our little pack out to do our work every now
Yeah,
and then.
Whitman Thomas, you got an extra view out of me, mate.
But I remember it from the video store as part of why I wanted to pick it as well. Because I'd always see it and I was intrigued by it. My parents would never let me get it. I think they just knew it was violent and didn't want it because of that.
It had that great blue poster. It was like
Yes.
a kind of rust-colored sky screaming in a helmet.
Yeah, it looks awesome. I think this era of sci-fi is appealing to me for whatever reason, but to me this is a perfect looking film, even though it's a bit schlocky and fucked looking.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's certainly schlocky and fucked looking, as is all of Verhoeven's filmography.
Yes.
But I think the thing that I love in this one is he kind of gets to see a dream achieved with this one.
Yeah.
He, in RoboCop, he lays the groundwork for this thing. And RoboCop's top 10 favorite movies of all time. For
Nice.
me.
Love
it.
It was sort of choosing between this and RoboCop because we also watched that for the pod at the same time. I was like,
Wow,
damn.
of course. RoboCop, what is more spooky than a guy that gets murdered by gangsters and then has to come back as a cop for the rest of eternity? In RoboCop, he lays the groundwork where you see, this is showing my ignorance. I don't know the real terminology. I'm trying to say the backstage of the police department, the locker room, the locker room. Thank goodness they got the locker room, and you're seeing male and female police officers in there changing as a cohabited space, and that's what he really wanted to do. And here he lives it out. You see the joint showers because the gender is different in the future.
Yeah, this is. There was something I wanted to say about it. The way it portrays gender in the future, and there's nudity in it, and later on there's a sex scene, but this nudity is the first in it. It's so casual and it's so just relaxed, and it fits in so perfectly, and it's just really sets a nice tone for the movie of we're fucked, and I guess tacky or something in other ways, but not like this. It's really sweet.
I think you're right on. The only problem is this is a movie where the target audience was 15-year-old boys,
Yes.
so they did not interpret it probably that way. They're probably all with their tongues dangling out, their eyes brushing up against the screen as they pop through their heads like a wolf whistling.
big steam coming out of their ears.
Yeah, and I
Horrendous.
think that design of those creatures, those big little,
They
creepy.
look unbelievable. But how much storytelling it does is incredible. It starts as a college movie, high school movie feeling thing. All of the world building I love, the weird football sport that they play, the fact that they're in Buenos Aires and you sort of understand the shifting geopolitical stuff because of that. And then it becomes this sort of army training movie, and then it becomes a full-on war movie. It's fucking unreal. And like we're saying, similar to Superbad in the way that it has this highbrow and lowbrow. It's smart as hell. It's this at times comment on fascism and neoliberalism and military and nationalism and stuff like this. And then it's also this fucked violent as hell movie, and it's great.
You're allowed to engage with it on whatever level you want.
Yes.
And I engage with it on the purely intellectual level. I watch this as my brain vibrates.
And all the little stylish things of showing the ads, the do you want to know more? It's so good.
It's just such a great interpretation of the future as well.
Yes.
I just really dig those visions of the future, especially from this era. I'd say the stuff that is crack cocaine for me is when they're we've got a far off vision of the future and it's not that far away from what they're imagining. It's just after the new millennium. But I think this is the biggest version of that. We're going we're having big, crazy, ambitious thoughts on what we can do with a science fiction film.
Absolutely. It's just boundless. It feels huge. It's so cool. Can I ask you a question?
Of course.
2 words. And then a question mark, I suppose, at the end.
Okay.
Michael Ironside?
Wow, Michael Ironside. Yeah.
What a
I
goat.
Michael Ironside.
That guy's a goat. I love him
one
in
of
this.
the
I love him in
guys.
everything, but I love him in this especially.
I'm trying to think. There's something I saw Michael Ironside in recently that just really
Just lit me up.
It
Just
absolutely
got me
lit me up.
titillated.
I just think he is just such a great presence. Oh God, what was it? Well, he's always in he's in Total Recall as well. Oh, he's in. This is what it was. It was the next Karate Kid. It was so embarrassing as I'm reading, going like, what did I just see him in that I loved him in? And as soon as it dawned on me that it was the next Karate Kid, I was quite embarrassed. I think he's just got one of those great presences.
Yep.
He's fantastic in Nobody. He's also, is he in Blackberry? I think he's in Blackberry as well. Blackberry.
This is the one Nirvana the Band the Show.
Yeah,
one.
Nirvana the Band the Show one. Yeah,
I think he is in that, and he's wonderful in it because he always is. But there's so many goats in this thing, man. This is one of my worst traits, one of my great flaws as a human being. I never remember characters' names or a lot of the time actors' names either.
Yes,
Johnny Rico's girlfriend, but not Denise Richards. Okay. She's incredible. What a cool character arc that is to have unfolding throughout the whole thing as well.
Let me look it up.
Her crush on him, and he's not interested.
Is it Dina Meyer?
Yes, that's her.
Yeah. She from the Saw franchise, Johnny Mnemonic and Piranha.
Yeah, she tears it up in this thing.
Yeah.
It's cool. And then that sex scene, I think it's genuinely quite sexy. I like the sort of silly discomfort of it in a way. They look a little cramped and it's not working well. But it's beautiful to see that relationship blossom in the end as well. You end up really rooting for it. It's great.
And a great Neil Patrick Harris performance.
Oh,
absolutely.
absolutely.
Love him in that comedic mode.
There's proper laugh out loud laughs in this for me as well. When he first appears in that like full-blown Nazi regalia, it's really made me pop.
Let me say, it's legend, wait for it, dairy. Really good stuff.
You're really breaking the bro code by becoming an officer, dude.
Well, happy suit up there, guys. We're going to keep on going with this podcast.
I'm doing my part.
We are going to get into our final part of the show.
Staff pick.
I'm so nervous and excited.
You're nervous?
Yeah.
Me too.
Wow, mutual nerves. Mutual honor morphed into mutual nerves.
Well, I've been putting together a couple of ideas and thoughts here, but the one that kept coming back to, because it's something that we've not really talked about on this podcast, but a foundation to you and I becoming friends in this world, linking up as it is known, or via LinkedIn. We became LinkedIn buddies.
When we first collabed.
But we became friends because we had a mutual love of Star Wars, a Star Wars obsession.
Yes.
And I think you and I have both been on the journey of a lifetime of being Star Wars obsessed.
Yes.
Knowing who Sio Bibble is, knowing the names of many people or the far off galaxy or far away galaxy. Not just far away, far away galaxy.
It's more than just far away.
Yeah, it's quite far. And don't even get me started about how long ago it took place in.
The thing about that sentence is it's got two fars. That's kind of just for you.
Oh, you got to get a few commas in this sentence. That's what we really need. It's probably one of the sentences that has the most punctuation. Commas, it's got fucking ellipses at the end.
Do you think they were driving themselves nuts over that sentence, or do you think George just confidently went, yeah, far, far away? Or they're like, far, it doesn't sound very far away.
I think George goes, it's not just far. It's actually, trust me on this, guys. Put it in again and go, oh, now we're talking far, far away.
Do you think when they were rolling those ideas around the boardroom, that's when he first came up with the name Jar Jar, because he kept saying far, far like that? It blossomed in his head.
That's good. It's a galaxy Jar Jar away, actually. Jar Jar away. Now that's good. That's an original Star Wars joke I've never heard before as
never
well.
Heard that
That's
in my
good
life.
stuff.
Who knows why? Who could say why it's never come up before now?
But I wanted to give you something in that space because I know we've been on that same journey of being like, love Star Wars. The Rise of Skywalker comes out. I felt unburdened when I saw it because I was like, finally, I know I'll never spend another dime buying a poster of this shit again.
Yes, or more importantly than that to me was, I'll never spend another emotional dollar on any of this. I'm finally free of caring if this is good or thinking about whether or not it's good. It finally became just a series of films. And don't get me wrong, it's just as meaningful to me. And the way that you talk about Star Wars has informed how I think about it by saying it's not a movie. It's not a movie. It's life. It's your entire life when you're that into it.
It's not a movie. It's a lifestyle. Yeah, I always think of it as it's like modern mythology.
Yes.
And now I don't think of it that way anymore. I go, it's a movie with some shit TV shows and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And lots of toys and a burden around most of my life. But I want to give you something in that space to kind of reawaken some of that joy.
What if you're like, A New Hope?
Yes.
Have you seen it?
Have you seen the Christmas special? But, when Star Wars hits in 1977, it absolutely changes the world. And everyone is trying to catch up to it. Everybody is trying to make the next Star Wars. But how do you go about that? Like, what do you do? Like, there's people are making, we can actually make a Flash Gordon, or Disney goes, we're going to make this weird, boring sci-fi thing. They start turning Star Trek into movies as well. And one of the heroes of cinema, Roger Corman, he's known as the Prince, he's known as the Pope of pop cinema.
Wow.
He's a low budget guy. He's kind of the godfather of the American New Wave movement because he gives first jobs to Scorsese, Coppola, James Cameron, who is involved in the one I'm about to recommend you. He goes, how do we do this on like a Corman budget? Like, how do we do it? And they make their most expensive film that they've ever made in 1980. And like Star Wars, George Lucas is formed by Akira Kurosawa. He takes Hidden Fortress as his guide for it. Like, what are we going to do? How are we going to tell this story? What are we going to take from it? And Roger Corman goes, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take an even better Akira Kurosawa film and turn it into our ginormous space opera. So he gets Seven Samurai and goes, not unlike Rebel Moon. Imagine if I go, and by the way, I'm recommending you Rebel Moon. You're going to love it. It's Zack Snyder. It looks awesome. It's 25 hours long. But he goes, well, we're going to take Seven Samurai. We're going to turn that into a space opera. And they make a movie in only 110 minutes. I think it's 100 minutes long. Called Battle Beyond the Stars.
Wow, I've never heard of this.
Adventure.
It's a wild movie. Let me tell you about some of the pedigree in there. So it's made by Roger Corman. He's the producer of it. It is made for $2 million back in the day, and it looks quite incredible. The best way to describe it is, you know how on like Twitter you see all these AI images going like, what if Star Wars was made in like the Soviet Union or whatever?
Yes.
It actually looks like one of those things. Like, it looks quite crazy because it's a little bit off. So much of it is just like the strangeness of Star Wars because you're hearing like all these new made up words, but it's made from quite a pedigree. It's one of the first scores ever written by James Horner, who is one of the big composers in cinema. He did, oh my God, why did I forget everything today? Avatar, Field of Dreams, Titanic, Aliens. So he works with James Cameron.
Wow.
James Cameron is also he's one of the designers, like special effects designers for this film. It also is written by the great John Sayles, who's one of the all-time great American screenwriters, who did, his best known film was like Lone Star, but if you look up his filmography, he's one of the great ghostwriters and like script doctors, but a huge hero of independent cinema. I'm just going to read you basically the Wikipedia for this because it is just Seven Samurai in space. But this is the characters. Richard Thomas as Shad, a young Akira farmer who looks for mercenaries to save his people. Over the course of the story, he evolves into the next Akira Corsair, brother of the ill-fated Mole. You've got Robert Vaughn, who basically plays the same character he played in The Magnificent Seven as Gelt, a notorious assassin with an intergalactic bounty on his head. John Saxon as Sador, who is the villain. He plays the evil Malmori of Sador, the leader of the evil Malmori Raiders. And he also is basically playing a similar character to the Magnificent Seven. George Papard plays Space Cowboy, the only character from Earth who is defined by his many one-liners, who becomes Shad's good friend. And you can see him in the background of many scenes just rolling his eyes as like all the kind of ridiculousness goes on foot.
I was going to say, on the cover here that you've given me, I love that, there's one guy just wearing a cowboy hat. I assume that's our man.
Yeah, that's Space Cowboy.
That's
and he's
the
an
eye roller.
Earthling. And this is the kind of the stuff you can delight in this movie. There's a scene where you just see him smoking a cigarette in like the cockpit of a plane, of a spacecraft. And they're like, what is that actual smoke? He goes, yeah, it's the worst thing you can do to your body, but I love it. It's just great stuff. And if you check this out, the only way, I'm going to describe to you the ship, and then I'm just going to show you a picture of the ship.
Please.
The Millennium Falcon, quite a masculine vehicle. So they kind of invert this.
Just to practice your description skills, how would you describe the Millennium Falcon to me?
I would say, it's a hunk of junk.
It's a piece of trash.
It's a piece of trash. This one, their starship, It is the shape of a uterus, and then it has a big set of bolted-on breasts on it as well.
Pardon me?
Is that accurate?
I see exactly what you meant by that. Yeah, it's like the drawing you would look at in year 7 to learn about the reproductive cycle.
And then they somehow have put breasts on it as well.
God, it's actually sparked a memory of the smartest kid in my school when we did this. I think it was in year 8, and he was like far and away the smartest and the nerdiest, and he took real delight. And we had to label these styles of diagrams of a penis and a vagina, and he spelled penis Peanus, and everyone was like, "You were meant to be smart, you fucking idiot, saying penis."
You're Penis.
Penis.
You're freaking Penis, dude.
But yeah, it looks exactly like that, like the diagram of the fallopian tubes. Plus, yeah, they've rammed a couple nipples onto, I guess, where the ovaries themselves would be.
Yeah, it's a bizarre thing, but the whole movie basically looks like that. And that's the sick mind of James Cameron just right there for you.
The guy's been a freak for ages.
But I think, this comes with a caveat. This is not the best movie they see.
No, but it'll be a fun time to watch.
I think so, especially if you have some friends around. Get your little high school buddies back together. Go, we're gonna watch these.
This sounds unreal. I assume the way Star Wars went on to become a sort of history-changing franchise, did this ever have a future beyond this?
Oh yeah, there's a TV show currently on the air. There's
the Space Cowboys got a spin-off.
Yeah, it made 2 sequels, a prequel series, a sequel series where it's actually quite strange with how they do not communicate with each other during the makings of the movies. Those are one and done. There's nothing. This movie doesn't exist.
Maybe for the best.
Almost no cultural footprint whatsoever.
Wow, got washed away by the sands of time, or the winds of time.
Yeah, that's it. Like sands to the hourglass on the twin moons planet of Tatooine. But Luka Muller, thank you so much, brother, for joining me here in the Last Video Store.
Thank you so much for having me, dude. This is awesome.
And I would love to say, go check out Ooh Spooky. It's like one of the freaking best podcasts ever.
Oh, dude.
Go check it out, everybody, please. And also, you're on the airways every morning around Australia.
Yes, indeed. Triple J Breakfast with Conchetta Caristo, possible future guest of the podcast. You never know.
She has been asked.
Yeah.
She has been asked to stop by a whole Batuta video and come chat with me.
Yep.
But she has turned me down.
She's a big timer.
Yeah, she's a big timer. No, I gotta go.
No, do you know what she told me today?
What'd she say?
You decide if you want to leave this in or not. She was like, "Oh, he did ask me, and fuck, I forgot to reply. And fuck, you know what? I'm gonna save it until before Taskmaster comes out, and then I can promote Taskmaster."
Hell yeah! Okay, save it.
She's using you, dude. She's
She also
using you big
leave
time.
that in. Like, you go, wow, the admin of this episode. But Luka, thank you so much for joining me. Enjoy the taste of things. Enjoy Superbad. Enjoy Starship Troopers. And dare I say it, even try to enjoy Battle Beyond the Stars.
You know, you recommended me to go and eat a meal after I saw the Taste of Things.
Oh, yeah.
What's the best post Battle Beyond the Stars activity, would you say?
I would say touch a slug. Like, you got to, after seeing this movie, you're going to go, I need to touch something that is not of this realm. Like, something that I would never touched before. Like, you know.
What I'm going to do, I'm going to go to the aquarium, go into the toilet, watch this on my phone, and then go straight to the little shallow pool where you get to touch all the guys.
And an enemy is in my future. A sea cucumber. Dare I brush my hand against an urchin? I think that's actually perfect. Perfect sensorial thing to do.
Dream.
The Last Video Store.
So that was our chat with my dear buddy and breakfast radio host, Luka Muller. Check out his special on the Comedy Republic YouTube page right now. So he's one of the funniest comedians around, so you'll have a lovely little laugh. Post-Christmas ham, filling up your belly, have a couple of LOLs, I'll say. Laugh out loud moments. But have a lovely good one. Check us out on Instagram, Last Video Store Batuta. Give us comments and interact with the show on whatever means you like to. But your support means a lot to myself. So thank you for supporting me. Really does mean a lot. I know I'm having a little bit more sincere moment than I normally do on a podcast. And it's without any irony. Enjoy movies.